I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. If I have to beg, plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Ain't too proud to beg, and you know it. Please don't leave me, girl. Ain't too proud to plead.
Did you hear what I was playing, Lane? I didn't think you'd like to listen, sir. I'm sorry for that. For your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. But I play with wonderful expression. Indeed, when it comes to piano, sentiment is my forte. I keep signs for life. Speaking of the science of life, we got the cucumber sandwiches cut going to Lady Brack. Yes, sir. By the way, Lane, I see from your book that when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me on Thursday, you've entered that 8 bottles of champagne were consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. See, I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I believe it to be a very pleasant state, sir. I have little experience of it myself, having only been married once, and that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm very much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it's not a very interesting subject. I really think of it much myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That'll do. Thank you, Lane.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set us a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Pleasure. Pleasure. What else brings one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algie.
I believe it's customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
Well, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses others. It's exceedingly boring.
And who are these people you amuse?
Oh. Neighbors. Neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Yes. Hello? Why all these cups? Oh, cucumber sandwiches. Why such extravagance in one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
Perfectly delightful.
Yes, it's all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It's almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolyn. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you said you had come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic at all about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted. One usually is, I believe, and then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If I ever get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce call was made for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There's no use speculating on the subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Please do not touch the cucumber sandwiches. They were ordered especially for Aunt Augusta.
Well, you have been eating them all the time.
That's quite a different matter. She's my aunt. Now have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter it is, too.
You need not eat as if you're going to eat it all. You act as if you were married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right.
That's nonsense.
It isn't. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. And in the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent.
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. And before I allow you to marry her, you'll have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone with the name of Cecily.
Bring me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to tell me you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was nearly offering a large reward for it.
Well, I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
Well, there's no use in offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
I think that's very mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you have no right whatsoever to read what's written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
It's absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
I'm well aware of the fact. And I don't propose we discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one discusses in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt.
Yes. Charming old lady. Lives in the Tunbridge Wells. Just get back to me, Algy.
But why, then, does she call herself Little Cecily if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall. Some aunts are not tall. That is certainly a matter that an aunt can decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like yours. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case!
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. Now, there is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle, I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
But you have always told me it is Ernest. I've introduced everyone to you and you as Ernest. You answer the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person I've ever seen in my life. It is absolutely absurd you say your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Here's one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 the Albany. I shall keep this as a proof that your name is Ernest if you ever attempt to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that still doesn't account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Now come on, boy, you better have it all out at once.
My dear fellow, you talk as if you were a dentist. It's very vulgar to talk as if one is a dentist, when one isn't a dentist. It produces false impressions.
Yes, but that's what dentists always do. Now, please, go on, tell me the whole truth. I will say that I've always suspected you to be a secret and confirmed Bunburyist, and now I know that I'm right.
A Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist?
I will reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform me as to why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, first produce my cigarette case.
Here it is. Now produce your explanation, and pray, make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there's nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew, and Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle for motives of respect you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You're not going to be invited. I may tell you quite frankly, the place is not in Shropshire.
Oh, I suspected that much. I have Bunburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on, tell me, why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It's one's duty to do so, and as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to one's health or happiness, in order to get to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name Ernest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Algie, is the whole truth. Pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. What you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You're one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest, in order that you may go down into the country whenever you like. Now, see, I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury, in order that I may come up to town whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. See, if it wasn't for Bunbury's terrible health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you tonight at Willis's, for I really have been engaged to Augusta for more than a week.
I have not asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. You're absurdly careless about sending out invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people more than not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. To begin with, I dine with her on Monday, and once a week is more than enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I dine there, I'm always treated as family, and either sent down with no woman at all, or two. And in the third place, I know precisely whom she'll sit me next to tonight. She will sit me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very pleasant. Indeed, it's not even decent. And that sort of thing is enormously on the increase in London. The number of women who flirt with their own husbands is scandalous. It looks so bad. It's simply washing one's clean linens in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. In fact, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. It's rather a bore. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise that you do the same with your with your invalid friend who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you get married, which seems to me to be very problematic, you will be glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
That's nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would love, I certainly wouldn't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize, dear fellow, that in marriage, 3 is company and 2 is none.
That, my dear fellow, is the theory that the corrupt French drama have been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and that the happy English home was proved in half the time.
Oh, for heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
It isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. Oh, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors would bring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you may have an opportunity for proposing to Gwendolyn, may I dine with you at Willis's tonight?
propose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who aren't serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling quite well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I am always smart, am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
I hope I'm not that. It would leave no room for developments. I intend to develop in many directions.
I hope you're not late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since your dear husband's death. I've never seen a woman quite so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea, one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolyn?
Thanks, Mamma, but I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens! Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches?
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir.
No cucumbers.
No, sir. I went down twice, hunting for ready money.
Thank you, Lane, that will do.
No, thank you.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers in the market, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
It certainly has changed its color. From what cause I, of course, cannot say. Thank you, Algernon. I've quite a treat for you tonight. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farker. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It is delightful to watch them.
I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I should hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he's accustomed to that.
It is a great disappointment to me, and I need not say a complete bore, but the fact of the matter is I've just received a telegram to say that my poor friend Bunbury is terribly ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury's a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury decided whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shally with the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your dear uncle. Not that he seems to take much notice as far as any improvements in his ailments goes. I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury for me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically said whatever they were going to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
I will speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he is conscious, and I think I can promise you that he'll be all right by Saturday. But the music is a great difficulty. For you see, if one plays good music, people don't listen, and if one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I will run over the program I've drawn out, if you will kindly follow me into the next room.
Thank you, Algernon. This is very kind of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expeditions. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think that they are improper, and look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German sounds a thoroughly respectful language, and indeed, I believe it is so. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it's been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else. That makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I'm never wrong.
And I would like to be able to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary
I
absence.
certainly advise you to do so. Mama has a way of coming back into a room suddenly that I've often had to talk to her about it.
Good. Ever since I've met you, I've loved you more than any girl that I've ever loved. Since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of that fact. And I wish that, in public at any rate, you've been more demonstrative. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines, and it's reached provincial pulpits, I am told. My ideal has always been to love someone of the name of Ernest. The name inspires absolute confidence. The moment that Algernon first mentioned to me, he had a friend called Ernest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Ernest.
But you don't mean to tell me that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest?
But your name is Ernest.
But, yes, I know, but supposing I had some other name, do you mean to tell me you couldn't love me then?
Ah, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And, like most metaphysical speculations, don't take into account the facts of real life as we know them.
Well, really, Gwendolyn, I think there are much other better names out there. I don't think the name Ernest suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has a music of its own, and it produces vibrations.
Well, I think Jack, for instance, is a charming name.
Jack. No, that has very little music, if any at all indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibration. I have known many Jacks, and they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. And Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who is married to a man called John. She'll probably never know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Ernest.
I must be christened at once. We must be married at once.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely, Gwendolyn, you know that I love you, and you led me to believe that you were not completely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but nothing at all has been said about marriage. The subject hasn't even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it an admirable opportunity, and to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I'm going to tell you beforehand I'm fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn,
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you will say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long have you been about it? I'm afraid you have absolutely no practice in how to propose.
My own one. I have never loved anyone in the world but you.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know that my brother Gerald does, and all my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderful blue eyes you have, Ernest. They're quite blue. I hope you'll always look at me just like this, especially when there are other people around.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from the semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mama, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing isn't quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Pardon me. You are not engaged to be married to anyone. When you do become engaged, I or your father, should his health permit it, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It can hardly be something that she can be allowed to arrange for herself. And now, Mr. Worthing, I have a few questions to put to you. While I am making these inquiries, Gwendolyn, you will wait for me below in the carriage.
But Mama!
In the carriage, Gwendolyn!
Yes, Mama.
you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men, although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a truly affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I am of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am glad to hear it. I do not approve of anything that taboos with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes, and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
Investments chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That is all that can be said about land.
Well, I have a country home, of course, with some land attached to it, about 1,500 acres. But I don't depend on it for any of my real income. As far as I can tell, the poachers are the only ones who can make anything out of it.
A country home? How many bedrooms? Well, that matter can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolyn could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I have a townhouse in Belgrave Square, but it is let to the year by Lady Bloxham.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little.
Nowadays, that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What's the number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that could easily be altered.
The fashion or the side?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate. Now, on to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents, Lady Bracknell.
To lose one parent may be regarded as misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
Well, really, Lady Bracknell, I had said that I had lost my parents when it would be nearer to the truth to say that my parents had lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found!
Yes. The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, who found me, gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
And where did this gentleman who had a first-class ticket for the seaside resort find you?
The cloakroom at Victoria Station.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station.
Yes. In a somewhat large brown leather handbag with handles to it. An ordinary bag, in fact.
A handbag?
Yes.
Mr. Worthing, seems to me to show a certain contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life. It reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I'm sure you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which this ordinary handbag was found, it seems that the cloakroom at Victoria Station might be used to conceal a social indiscretion. Has possibly been used for that purpose before now. But it could hardly be used for an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
Then may I ask what you would advise me to do? I need hardly say I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you to acquire some relations as soon as possible. and to make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
I really don't see how I can do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. I think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What's it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Good morning. For heaven's sake, Hal, don't play that ghastly tune. How idiotic you are.
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you? I know it was the way she has. She was always refusing people. I think in most ill-natured of them.
Gwendolyn is right. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Your mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm sure that Lady Bracknell is one of them. In any case, she is a monster, without being a bit, which is rather unfair. I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own aunt in that way before you.
I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't got the remotest knowledge about how to live, nor the slightest instinct about when to die.
That's nonsense. You're always talking nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I'm not going to argue the matter with you. You always want to argue about things.
That is originally what things were made for.
On my word. If I thought that, I'd shoot myself. You don't think that there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in the next 150 years, do you?
All women become like their mothers. That is their great tragedy. And no man does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It's perfectly phrased. And quite as accurate as any comment on civilized life should be.
I'm sick to death of cleverness. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
What do they talk about?
The fools. The clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about your being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
The truth isn't the sort of thing one tells to a sweet, refined girl like Gwendolyn. What ideas you have about the ways to behave to a woman?
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, and to someone else if she is plain.
It's nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
By the end of the week, I shall have got rid of Ernest. I'll say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die very suddenly of apoplexy, do they not?
Yes, but it's hereditary. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. You had much better say a severe chill.
You're sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that kind?
Of course it's not.
All right, then my poor brother Ernest was carried off in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you had said that Miss Cardew was a bit too interested in Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a good deal?
Oh, that is not a large matter. Cecily is not a silly romantic girl. She's got a capital appetite, goes on long walks, and pays no attention in her lessons.
I would rather like to see Cecily.
I'll take very good care you never do. She's excessively pretty and only just 18.
And does Gwendolyn know that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
One doesn't just blurt these things out. Gwendolyn and Cecily are destined to be great friends. I'll bet you anything you like that half an hour into meeting each other, they will be calling each other sister.
Women only do that, but they call each other a lot of other things first. Now, my dear fellow, do you know that it is nearly 7? If we want to go table at Willis's, we really must go dress.
It's always almost nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew when you weren't.
What shall we do after dinner? Shall we go to the theater?
No, I love listening.
Well, then let's go to the club.
No, I hate talking.
Well, we could trot round to the Empire at 10.
No, I can't bear looking at things. It's so silly.
Well, what shall we do then?
Nothing.
It's a lot of work doing nothing. However, I don't mind hard work when there's no definite object involved.
Fair fact.
Gwendolyn, upon my word.
Algie, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Really, Gwendolyn, I don't think I can allow this at all.
You've always adopted a strict, immoral attitude towards life. You're not quite old enough for that. Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mamma's face, I fear that we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children say to them. The old-fashioned respect for children is fast dying out. Whatever influence I had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But, although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else and marry often, nothing she could possibly do can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Gwendolyn.
The story of your romantic origin, as related to me by Mamma with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination to it, and the simplicity of your character makes you incomprehensible to me. Now, your address in the city I have. What is your address in the country?
Oh, the Manor House, Woodland, Hertfordshire.
There's good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something drastic. I'll write to you daily.
I own one.
How long will you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algie, you may turn around now.
Thank you, I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
You'll let me see you to your carriage, my own one.
Certainly.
I will see you, Miss Fairfax.
Yes, sir. A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going Bunbury.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I'll be back until Monday. You can put out my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, and all of the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
Oh, it never is, sir.
What a perfect pessimist you are.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There, beautiful, intellectual girl. The only girl I've ever cared for in my entire life. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh, I'm really anxious about Bunbury, that's all.
If you don't take care, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape one day.
I love scrapes. They're the only thing that'll never serious.
That's nonsense. You never talk anything but nonsense.
No one ever does.